Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. A man must be disciplined. A man must be disciplined. Now, this is very important to understand. This is very important. And I thought about this because I remember I was picking my son up from high school. He's a part of this club there, and I was picking him up and I was looking at all the other students walking around, and most of them had on sweats and everything, very casual. He wears sweats, but very casual, right? But it made me think about high school. Now, I went to a private high school in Washington, D.C., Archbishop Carroll. And I remember something, and I didn't think much of it at the time, but you know, hindsight is 20/20. You think about some things. There were a couple instances. One, we had to wear neckties. So for the first time in my life, I had to wear a necktie, not just to church, but just every day. I mean, we get like the beginning of the year, we get maybe a month we can come casual, but then we had to wear neckties the rest of the time. Now, they were kind of loose with it at the time. They would eventually go to like you had to wear full uniform, but they were kind of loose with it at the time. So you could wear a necktie. You didn't have to tie it all the way up to the top. And many of the guys, particularly the white guys, they would come and they wear the necktie, but they would also wear tennis shoes a lot. Like, if I remember correctly, we weren't allowed to wear jeans. So, you know, they come, wear their stuff. All the brothers there, though, be coming in some shoes. I used to call it Archbishop Fashion Show. But didn't think much of it. But I look back, I was like, you know, they were creating discipline in us. Because one of the things was, it was a very disciplined environment. And I imagine that's that way at all like private schools. But it was a very disciplined environment. Like if we got 15 demerits, we were out. We couldn't just do whatever. We couldn't do things willy-nilly. There was always a consequence. And then, you know, that's one thing. But then I told you I played soccer in high school. I was a lot slimmer and arrogantly thought I could make the pros. I was like, I wasn't that big football player, even though I was good at football, but I was mainly a business decision. But in order to play the games, you had to have your shoes shine. The coach was very adamant about it. If you didn't shine, you came to a game, your shoes weren't shine. You didn't play. He didn't care if you were the superstar or whoever. You didn't play. Now, I look back at it, what did those situations create? Discipline. Taught teenage boys discipline. That was a big thing. That was a big thing, like just at the school, how we did things, how we had to get up. You know, we knocked down, we had to get back up. That was in all sports. We called it Carroll Pride. But we learned discipline. And when I look back to many, I'm still in contact with many of my classmates. You know, we still, I mean, that's like a big thing, you know, still major contact and everything. Over 40 years, still in contact. But it was the discipline. It was the discipline. And one of the things that men need is to be disciplined. When I talk about body game, it's not even so much about the aesthetics. Yeah, they're great, but it's the discipline of sticking to a workout routine. It's the discipline of getting up and going when you don't want to go. It's a discipline. See, the one thing is, in this culture, we don't have a rites of passage for young men. In civilized cultures, otherwise people will call them indigenous, and they say, well, they don't have all this technology, but they knew how to develop a man. And during the rites of passage, that's what a young boy would be trained in. Discipline. And it could be different things, maybe having to hunt, maybe having to endure some pain for a while, but it's discipline. And I'm gonna tell you what, as a man goes through life, he has to be disciplined in what he does, because he'll maintain the discipline. It creates his will. He knows that there are consequences if he doesn't maintain that discipline. Like I said, in high school, we would get 15 demerits, which means you could be kicked out of that high school. So you did 15 bad things, you were gone. That means we had to think about the consequences of everything that we did. We had to think about the consequences. We couldn't just do stuff. See, when you're disciplined, you're automatically thinking consequences. You're automatically keeping yourself going. But see, we got a lot of men, they'll just do stuff. There's no discipline in their actions and how they do things, how they moved. Indeed, like many young men, if they don't go to a private school, there's been many a young men who would join the military and they would get that discipline. Anybody who's been in the military, they'll tell you, that drill sergeant, they're gonna make sure you're disciplined. You have to be. Everything is a discipline in the military. Now, I haven't been in the military personally. I haven't been in there, but I've known enough military men who've been in the military, who've been in the service. And thus, every time I see one in person, I say, thank you for your service. But the thing there'll be is discipline. In fact, even before I went to Carroll, I learned discipline from my step-grandfather. Now, I've said, you know, I'll talk about my grandmother a lot, but it wasn't like she was by herself. It was just how much love I had for her. But I learned how to be a man from the men in my family. From the men. You know, my step-grandfather, my biological grandfather, my uncles, my older cousins. They taught discipline. But I think about my step-grandfather, and I've told this story in front of a church. He was working at the Pentagon. Now, I'm a 5-year-old, and I'm thinking he's a police officer. He was just a security guard. But I would sit in the room with him while he was getting dressed. And he would straighten out his, the creases on his pants. Like he had actually owned the cleaners. And so he always kept his stuff ironed, which I picked up on. He would keep his pants ironed, his shirts ironed, perfectly starched, and his shoes shined. And I remember he would smooth it out. He would sit on the bed, smooth out his crease. I would sit on something and smooth out my crease. I just have on a regular pair of pants, but I was smoothing. He didn't say a word because he knew I was watching him, and he wouldn't have a smile on his face. And he had actually served as a CB in World War II. He had served as a CB in World War II, so he had that military discipline. And he didn't say anything. He didn't say you need to do this. He knew I was watching him, so he gave me that lesson without saying it in a word. But that was discipline. And see, that discipline carries you a long way. Discipline is a superpower a man needs. See, a man has to be responsible. A man has to be able to set his boundaries. A man has to be able to face reality. A man has to be able to solve problems. So what that man did, he would have the discipline. And see, those little things, just those little things, it's given me discipline and it's carried me far in life. Discipline keeps you going. In fact, I have a saying that I've never said, and I'm still not going to say it, because I'm actually going to copyright a saying that has to do with discipline. And I'll say it every single day. And when I'm in the gym, I got to do that extra rep. I say this to myself. Or if I'm doing videos and I'm not feeling as much, I say, no, I have to do this. Discipline gets things done. Discipline gets things done. So, very important. As a man, you have to be disciplined in your behavior. You have to be disciplined. That's what it means to be a man. I want y'all to meditate on everything I said, and I will get back with you. Peace and blessings.